President Tinubu's broadcast. President Tinubu removes restriction on student loans, approves buses for university students. Senate to mediate between federal government, NLC over Wednesday's planned strike. And on the foreign scene, Senegal opposition leader formally charged with insurrection. I am Constance Mega. Former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike says he changed the landscape of Port Harcourt before he left office. Well, the former governor said this during the ministerial screening at the Senate chambers today. He also boasted that he left office like a hero.
I constructed 12 flyovers in 4 years. There's no thing like magic. What is important is what passion do you have? What commitment do you love your people? And I can say, as a governor, then in my 4 years in the second tenure, I've never left my state and slept outside my state. I've made sure that I'm in my state to take the challenges, to solve the problems of my people. This thing can be achieved if you are committed, if you have passion for the job. There are so many people who want to be minister, who want to be governor, for the sake that.
Well, the former governor also said that the intention of nominating him as minister in whatever capacity.
But there are those who say, look, what do I want to offer? Am I committed to this job? And I thank Mr. President for nominating me. I believe, knowing how hungry Mr. President is to solving the problems of Nigeria, we have no choice but to give him that required support. And I can assure you, if I am confirmed, in whatever capacity, Mr. President will not regret nominating me. Thank you, and God bless you.
Well, on his part, the senator representing Rivers Southeast, Barry Mpigi, while speaking on behalf of the National Assembly members from Rivers State, described the former governor Wike as a role model.
The man standing before you is our best from Rivers State. We are here, let me not just over-exaggerate, but I want to say he's our role model. I want to say all what he has said and what he has enumerated in his CV, and some he has not put it in. The 3 senators from Rivers State and over 5 million Rivers people back at home, we are saying we are in total conformity with our leader. And I want all my distinct colleagues to just ask our leader to take a bow, if possible, and go.
Well, the former Rivers State governor was then asked to take a bow by the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio.
Distinguished Senator Mpigi, when you were speaking, I had goose pimples because you mentioned that over 5 million people in Rivers State are with this nominee, and you confirmed that his resume, the content are insufficient to enumerate the achievements of the nominee. I don't think there's anybody here who is opposed to this nominee. Your Excellency, can you take a bow?
Moving on, the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, says the Senate will interface with the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the federal government to avert Wednesday's protest over fuel subsidy removal. While speaking during plenary today, Senator Akpabio also urged states, local government councils, to support the federal government in alleviating the sufferings of Nigerians.
It's not only a function of federal government alone. The state governments are getting their monthly allocations and all that, and the local governments are getting something. So it's important to look at whatever you can do to cushion the effects of the removal of the fuel subsidy. So I will do everything possible to appeal to the Nigerian Labour Congress to avert the strike so that we can continue the negotiations, and then also we need enough time to put in place things that will cushion the effects.
In the same vein, some Port Harcourt residents say they will not be surprised if the NLC succumbs to pressure and calls off its strike, just like the last time. They told our correspondent that some policies of the President Bola Tinubu's administration has further worsened hardship and should be checked. They, however, urged the NLC and the TUC to be resolute and stand in for the sole interest of the masses.
Nigerians are tired. This labor is the same labor that each time they go into a meeting with the federal government, they will come out with an agreement which will not be realized. I wish they can sit up and act.
the people at the top will be sorted out, and then you will now come and start hearing further explanations on why we should not go on strike or why the strike should not be as long as expected. So I feel the strike may start tomorrow after the meeting, just so that it looks like they are serious. By the end of the day, they will call it off in less than a week, if it even gets to more than 2 days.
What will come out is a normal thing. You see them by tomorrow now, they will call off the strike. They are just there for their own good. It is not left for them to prove we Nigerians wrong, that what we think is not what will happen.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has approved the provision of buses to the student bodies of all universities, polytechnics and colleges of education across the country. A State House statement said the provision of the buses is to ease the burden of the fuel subsidy removal on students of tertiary education institutions. It said the free buses will remove the burden of additional cost of daily commuting on parents and guardians. Well, President Tinubu also approved the removal of all restrictions on the student's loan to ensure that no Nigerian student abandons his or her educational pursuits as a result of lack of money and the economic circumstances of their parents. In another development, as Nigerians await the broadcast of President Bola Tinubu this evening, a policy analyst, Tijan Bulletin, has advised the president to clearly tell Nigerians how he will take them out of the economic situation in the country. Mr. Bulletin, who is the program director of Policy Alert, tells correspondent Subi Oruwari that it is not a time for reeling out of policies that cannot be implemented.
I think the president should focus on giving Nigerians a reason to care at a time when Nigerians are so depleted. In terms of the social contract, the president should do a lot of reassuring of the Nigerians. He should declare step-by-step roadmap on how he is going to assuage the tank of Nigerian citizens right now. Funds that are occasioned by the fuel subsidy removal, by the Naira Buhara.
But Mr. Bolton said the current situation needs urgent government attention and the president should give a message of hope to Nigerians.
We have enough policies. I think the big thing is now to take action on delivering on those policies. Nigerians are hungry. Nigerians are unable to afford basic health care. Nigerians are unable to send their children to school. People are unable to move their products from the farms to the market because of high cost of transportation occasioned by the fuel subsidy removal. So Mr. President should actually reel out.
On his part, the coordinator, Defense for Human Rights and Democracy, Solomon Clifford, urged the president to explain the policies he has for Nigerians on the removal of fuel subsidy.
So I think darkness will be that the president has realized that people are buying in their numbers. So therefore, he wants to come up with policy, economic policy, political policy that will take the people out of poverty. Because Nigerians cannot remain this way. We are so much tired.
Well, today's broadcast by 7 p.m. is the first presidential broadcast by President Bola Tinubu since he assumed office on 29th May. Still to come, Governor Fubara appoints new special assistant. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has approved the immediate appointments of Owolabi Ofori as Special Assistant Logistics, Obonda Okocha Special Assistant Project Monitoring, Jerry Benimo Fubara Jr. Special Assistant on IT, Sonye Maxwell Special Assistant Students Affairs, Bernard Odike Special Assistant Social and New Media, and Doro Special Assistant Social and New Media. Sega Adedeji was also appointed as Special Assistant Social and New Media. Marshall Obuzo, Special Assistant Social and New Media. Linda Owutubo, Special Assistant Gender. Mauricia Wilfred Pepple, Special Assistant Youth and Sports, and Harold Koko as Chief of Protocol. In other news, some advocacy groups against human trafficking have called on the government at all levels to intensify efforts in tackling human trafficking cases. They made the call today during a one-day walk organized by the Rivers State Command of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP. A representative of the Marilac Center, Hope for Street Children, Ifeanyi Okpara, urged the government to formulate more strong economic policies to discourage human trafficking.
Despite the efforts of both governmental and non-governmental organizations to curb the menace, it is still on the rise. This is because victims are not so willing to speak up. We want them to speak up. They shouldn't be ashamed to be identified as victims of human trafficking. Otherwise, the evil will continue to increase. I encourage them not to lose faith. In out on daily basis, thousands seeking greener pastures. If the economy is better, I don't think human trafficking will thrive.
Well, on her part, the coordinator of Speak Up as one of the challenges
of encouraging them, rehabilitating them, and also reintegrating them into the society. So as we celebrate this year's World Day Against Human Trafficking, we also urge victims of trafficking to try as much as possible to speak up so that they can get justice.
Well, correspondent Suibio Ruwari reports that the Assistant Publicity Secretary of Federation of International Women Lawyers, FIDA, Consilia Obiageri, also joined in calling for stiffer penalties against those caught committing the crime.
As a non-governmental organization focused on advancing women's rights and promoting gender equality, FIDA frowns at child trafficking. We are out, we are engaged to make sure that woman trafficking, child trafficking is stamped out.
Well, as you may know, every 30th of July, the world celebrates World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. And this year's theme is Reach Every Victim of Trafficking, Leave No One Behind. The National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, today met with governors from the 5 southeast states in Abuja. Although the agenda of the closed-door session was not made known to journalists, it might be connected to the worsening security issues in Anambra, Enugu, Abia, Imo, and Ebonyi states. Well, last Wednesday, the Senate condemned the Monday sit-at-home in the southeast and asked the federal government to collaborate with the Finnish government and extradite a pro-Biafran agitator, Simon Ekpa, for prosecution. And in business, Port Harcourt no longer has 100 naira bread. Well, this follows the increase in the price of the commodity. Recall that the chairman of Master Bakers in Rivers State, Chidi Olu, said the new price of bread took effect today due to the high operational costs of running a bakery and the removal of the petrol subsidy. Well, some bread sellers around the Rumosi axis of Port Harcourt told our correspondent they could not buy bread today due to the price increase. Meanwhile, a pastry chef, Ifi Azike, tells us that some of them are still watching the market before they increase price.
There will be a reaction from the market first now. Like today's market, many bakeries will not produce over the weekend. It's not say we are increasing to this. The next thing is, can the people buy at the new price? Are you to go back to the drawing board and go and see maybe you should go and reduce the rate to make it viable? Everybody's just sitting from the corner and watching how it's playing out. I have kind of sent messages to my customers just to let them know that I do open fresh. So most of them are end users.
Well, our correspondent gathers that the small sliced bread is now 600 naira, up from 550 naira, while the jumbo, which was 1,100 naira, is now 1,200 naira. The small loaf of 120 naira is now 200 naira, and the round loaf of 200 naira is now 250 naira. In entertainment, legendary rapper Kanye West's Twitter account has officially been reinstated after being banned last year. The rapper lost his account as a result of his multiple policy infringements last year during his numerous Twitter rants. And in sport, Nigeria, the first team for the outside, progressed into knockouts after a goalless draw against the Men's World Cup.
And now we bring you news from around the world.
Senegal opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has been formally charged with starting an unrest and has been placed in custody, where he had been accused of stealing the mobile phone of a police officer whose vehicle had broken down near the politician's home and issuing a subversive message on social media. Mr. Sonko, who was arrested at his home on Friday, has denied the charges, saying they were politically motivated. Well, on Sunday, he announced he was going on hunger strike and invited all political detainees to join him. that's the news, but before we go, another look at the highlights of the major stories. On the news this evening, you heard that former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, says President Tinubu will not regret nominating him as a minister. And Rivers State Governor Fubara has appointed several special assistants. Analysts have spoken on their expectations ahead of President Tinubu's broadcast today. President Tinubu has removed all restrictions on the student loans and has approved buses for all university students. The Senate says it will mediate between the federal government and the Nigeria Labour Congress over Wednesday's planned strike. And on the foreign scene, you heard that Senegal opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has been formally charged with insurrection. The news was edited by Martha Okerenkem. Rain showers in Port Harcourt this evening. Remember, peace is the path to the prosperity of a nation. Let peace reign. I'm Constance Mega. Thank you so much for listening. Good evening.